Welcome to Listen to Riches. Today, I will be interpreting the book The Middleman Economy for you. But what exactly is an intermediary? An intermediary, often referred to as a middleman, is a professional who connects buyers and sellers. In our daily lives, we encounter various typical intermediaries such as real estate agents, headhunters, insurance brokers, and more. However, there are many other professions that also play the role of intermediaries, such as wedding planners who connect couples with florists, gift shops, and bakeries. There are also popular live stream hosts and beauty influencers who act as intermediaries between consumers and various snack or cosmetics brands. According to the author of this book, intermediaries encompass not only those who buy low and sell high without selling homemade products, but also the multitude of small and medium-sized sellers on e-commerce platforms. When we take a taxi, order takeout, book flights, or hotels, we often use corresponding apps which also serve as intermediaries. In fact, people are already surrounded by intermediaries in their daily lives, and the middleman economy is omnipresent. Sociologists have shown a keen interest in the topic of the middleman economy. They have conducted in-depth research on how intermediaries provide value and how they profit from both buyers and sellers. The author of this book, Marina Krakovsky, is a renowned journalist from Silicon Valley focusing on writing in the field of social sciences with a particular interest in the latest research in psychology, sociology, and economics. In her work, she delved into a wealth of theoretical research on the middleman economy, gaining inspiration and summarizing the thinking patterns and skills that top intermediaries need to master. This gave birth to the book, The Middleman Economy. Now, I will address two questions in this book. First, why are intermediaries important? Second, how can one become an outstanding intermediary? Let's start with the first question. Why are intermediaries important? When some people hear the term intermediary, they may frown, thinking that intermediaries do not create new value but merely facilitate transactions and demand high markups or commissions. Even the term middleman itself carries a derogatory connotation. However, the author argues that intermediaries do much more than that. In reality, they play at least 6 different roles in this process, including bridging the gap, quality assurance, enforcing transaction standards, risk-bearing, information screening, and acting as intermediaries who allow buyers and sellers to avoid direct contact. By examining these 6 different roles, the importance of intermediaries can be seen in 3 aspects. First, intermediaries shorten the distance between buyers and sellers, which includes physical distance, social distance, and time differences. The reduction of physical distance is easy to understand and is one of the origins of this ancient profession. For example, in history, China had silk and porcelain while the West did not. It was through the efforts of traders who traversed mountains and rivers along the Silk Road that these goods reached the West. The presence of intermediaries allowed products such as silk and porcelain, common in China, to become luxury items in the West. Intermediaries bridged the stylistic gap caused by geographical differences, making the value of the goods realized and even exceeding their intrinsic value. Advancements in technology, such as trains, ships, and planes, have made transportation faster, more economical, and safer, thereby reducing physical distance. However, social distance has not diminished. Often, people may be geographically close but lack social connections. For instance, even if you work at the same company, you may have little interaction with colleagues from other departments. For instance, if you work in the finance department, you might not be very familiar with colleagues from the marketing or sales departments, and you may only know 1 or 2 people. This is what we refer to as social circles, and people within the same circle generally share similar information, but there is limited interaction between different circles and information exchange is minimal. People often prefer to stay within their social circles. For example, entrepreneurs and investors belong to entirely different social circles. Many entrepreneurs are typically young college graduates who enjoy discussing ideas in coffee shops, while investors are mostly wealthy individuals in their 40s or 50s who frequent elite clubs. Their social circles barely overlap, and even when they come together, it can be challenging for them to integrate. This is where intermediaries step in to strengthen connections between different social circles. Intermediaries bridge the gap between different social circles, providing valuable information such as which startup companies show promise and which investors are interested in investing. They act as matchmakers, offering value to both sides of the social circles. In Silicon Valley, there's a company known to startups as the wealthier of them all, YC. YC has assisted hundreds of startups, accumulating over $1 billion in investments. Besides bridging physical and social distances, intermediaries can also eliminate time disparities. For instance, if you need to move on a Saturday and urgently want to sell your old refrigerator, you might post it on a second-hand goods storage website, but there's no guarantee it'll sell immediately. To expedite the sale, you might agree to a lower price, even though the fridge was initially worth $500. Then, after moving into your new home on Monday, you may need a second-hand sofa, so you post a request on the second-hand goods storage website. However, there's no guarantee you'll find a seller right away. If there were an intermediary in this scenario, whether you wanted to sell or buy, they would provide their services at a fair price. Would you consider placing an order with them? Of course, you would. The presence of intermediaries eliminates time disparities. They connect sellers who are moving on a Saturday with buyers who need items on a Monday, providing liquidity to both parties. In this process, intermediaries also shoulder some of the risk. For instance, in a given week, an intermediary purchases 5 washing machines for $350 each, but they remain unsold for a month. To clear inventory quickly, the intermediary decides to sell them at $280 each. The intermediary bears the loss on the price difference. However, compared to buyers or sellers, intermediaries usually have the ability to take on such risks since they constantly monitor the market, and the high-frequency trading provides them ample opportunities to recoup occasional losses. Shortening the distance between buyers and sellers is the first aspect of the importance of intermediaries. Another facet of their importance lies in their role as a trusted third party. When dealing with strangers, how can people ensure they obtain enough information to purchase suitable products at a reasonable price, and how can they ensure the other party delivers the promised service after payment? This is precisely the responsibility of intermediaries. Intermediaries reduce information asymmetry between the two parties through their expertise, ensuring the quality of traded products or services. For example, investors looking to invest in a startup face a multitude of choices and may not know which companies have potential and which are fraudulent. In this case, intermediaries use their professional knowledge to screen and conduct background checks. Only companies that meet specific criteria are recommended to venture capitalists. Additionally, intermediaries strive to disclose information comprehensively to investors. This process is somewhat akin to oysters and pearls. Investors want to see oysters that indeed contain pearls before deciding which oyster to purchase. However, the laborious work of catching, opening each oyster to confirm the presence of pearls, and then cleaning the oysters falls to intermediaries. They use their expertise to ensure product or service quality, saving time for buyers and reducing the risk of being deceived by sellers. As trusted third parties, intermediaries can also standardize the behavior of both parties in a transaction. The author mentions a company called OpenTable that provides restaurant reservation services to consumers. For every consumer who reserves a table through the company, a commission is paid by the restaurant after the consumer dines in. This serves as a constraint on the restaurant. However, if a consumer cancels their reservation or fails to dine at the appointed time, it results in a loss for the restaurant. To address this issue, OpenTable has taken some measures to regulate consumer behavior, thereby protecting restaurants during transactions. Firstly, they adjusted the consumer reservation rules, disallowing reservations at multiple restaurants within the same time slot. Secondly, they send reminder texts to consumers the day before their reservations to prompt those who have already decided not to dine to cancel in advance. These two measures have significantly reduced instances of consumer no-shows. The importance of intermediaries can also be seen in the third aspect, which is their ability to isolate buyers and sellers, making it easier for both parties to negotiate their interests. For example, let's say you have a car you want to sell and your desired price is $60,000. However, a friend offers to buy it for $40,000. You might not want to sell to your friend because your bottom line is higher, but you also don't want to haggle with your friend, fearing it might harm your friendship. In contrast, selling the car to a used car dealer might be a wiser choice because you can negotiate without reservations and aim for maximum profit. The role of intermediaries is more pronounced among celebrities. Most celebrities have dedicated agents who handle matters such as collaborations and contracts. Celebrities often have packed schedules, but more importantly, the presence of agents spares celebrities the awkwardness of negotiating on their own. The author mentions an agent named Rosenhaus who specializes in representing professional athletes and negotiating their contracts with sports teams. If a team's offer doesn't meet the player's expected value, Rosenhaus will express dissatisfaction with the team's representatives and may even threaten to hang up the phone, quickly calling another team. This strategy would be unthinkable if employed by the player themselves, as it would not only lead to lingering grudges even if a deal is eventually signed, but it could also damage the player's personal image, making them appear greedy in the eyes of fans. In summary, intermediaries facilitate the matchmaking between buyers and sellers, enabling them to each gain what they need while also seeking their own interests. This concludes the first part of the content, highlighting the three aspects of the importance of intermediaries. First, they shorten the distance between buyers and sellers, including physical distance, social distance, and time disparities. Second, intermediaries can provide assurance to both parties while regulating their behavior. Third, intermediaries can isolate buyers and sellers, making it easier for both parties to negotiate their interests. Now, let's move on to the second question: how to become a top-notch intermediary. The author believes that a good intermediary must possess two traits: warmth and capability. As an intermediary, being warm and enthusiastic without adequate skills would make you more akin to a pet, relying on your service attitude to charm people, but such a business wouldn't last long. For example, if you want to travel and the staff at the travel agency who's assisting you is warm and attentive, but they recommend an itinerary you're unsatisfied with, you won't book with them. However, if someone is highly capable but greedy, they resemble a predator, posing harm to customers and even to society. For instance, those who hide mandatory shopping in tour packages, or loan brokers attempting to push high-interest loans onto college students. A good intermediary needs to be warm and cooperative, treating clients like friends while possessing the ability to achieve their goals. Interestingly, being selfless isn't a necessary trait for an intermediary. Being interested in mutual benefit and willing to gain profit under win-win circumstances is the basis for friendly cooperation in achieving goals. However, these qualities alone are not sufficient. To become a top-notch intermediary, the author provides several recommendations which can be summarized into 4 main points. The first point is that if you're starting as an intermediary from scratch, the first thing you must learn is to give. Building friendships and being willing to incur small losses is of paramount importance, yet it is also the most challenging. Many people find it awkward to try and be friends with potential clients because they feel that profiting from friends is unethical. Maintaining such relationships feels like a manipulation of others for one's own gain, generating self-loathing. How can this psychological barrier be overcome? The author highlights the practice of Hadi Nahavandi as a possible example. Hadi Nahavandi is a professional who introduces investors to startup companies. He doesn't clearly separate his personal and professional networks. His colleagues, business partners, and people he knows in his personal life all treat him as a friend. Since friends can help each other, Nahavandi acts as a bridge for them, dedicating his time to assist. If a startup company encounters difficulties, he does his best to help them. For instance, if they cannot afford an office at first, he provides free office space. If they need expert advice, he leverages his connections to introduce reliable experts. Because Nahavandi has consistently acted in this manner, people know him as an honest, kind, and generous person. Silicon Valley is relatively small, and when word got out about his reputation, many investors and startups started seeking him out. Besides providing selfless assistance, intermediaries starting from scratch need to incur costs to attract one side of the clients through subsidies. There is a student named Tillis who, while studying at Boston University, observed a pregnant woman distributing flyers on campus, looking for a temporary babysitter for her soon-to-be-born child. Tillis astutely recognized this as a good idea since the suburbs around Boston had many affluent families in need of temporary or long-term babysitters. And there were 33 schools in the Boston area with students eager to earn extra income by babysitting. Both buyers and sellers had demands, but Tillis didn't know many parents needing babysitters or students wanting to work as babysitters. How could he solve this problem, which many intermediaries starting from scratch face? The author's advice is to use cross-subsidization to gain customers. This means providing one side of the customers with subsidies to attract them to the network and then using a substantial user base to attract paying customers from the other side, creating value through subsidies. This is a common approach adopted by many internet platforms. For instance, ride-sharing and food delivery apps attract one side of the users through discounts and subsidies. As one side of the users grows, it becomes more appealing to the other side, further attracting paying users. This positive feedback loop leads to rapid user growth until a certain scale is reached. Tillis applied this model, attracting students interested in babysitting by offering free referrals. Once he had a list of students, he worked on reaching parents in need, such as distributing flyers in supermarkets' baby sections or offering to watch children for free in residential areas. After identifying the parents' needs, he then introduced students from the list, eventually charging parents a certain fee. When both sides of the transaction reached a certain scale, the intermediary could start charging both sides. However, most intermediaries continued to offer free services to one side while charging the other side, using the cross-subsidization model to pursue continuous growth and profits. The second piece of advice for a successful intermediary is to thoroughly understand the customer's needs. Why do consumers seek intermediaries? What are their demands? This is a crucial aspect that intermediaries need to comprehend when dealing with customers. For example, a couple looking for a wedding planner is clearly overwhelmed by the complexity of planning every detail of their wedding. They want a wedding planner to help alleviate this burden. If the wedding planner insists on asking for the couple's opinions on every aspect, from the major wedding day processes to minor details like bouquet styles and cake sizes, the couple might find it burdensome and unnecessary. If the intermediary wants to be successful, they should save the customer's time by reducing options that don't matter to them. The author's third piece of advice for becoming a good intermediary is to let professionalism and reputation speak for you. Many people believe that they need to know more people, build a broader network to get more business as intermediaries. However, the author argues that this is a misunderstanding. Successful people don't have good relationships because they know a lot of people. Rather, it's their skills and expertise that make them valuable to people, which in turn helps them build and expand their network. To excel as an intermediary, the most important qualities are to be highly skilled and have a good reputation. The author suggests that you avoid trying to be a jack of all trades, as broadness can undermine depth. Intermediaries should focus on areas where they have a competitive advantage and delve deep into them. For instance, a person named Robert I was in charge of a headhunting company. He was responsible for filling 150 positions annually, but he only focused on the retail goods sector, such as clothing, shampoo, and other retail products. This was because Robert had 10 years of experience in this field, having previously worked at Johnson & Johnson. Over the years, he had built a network of contacts among buyers, distributors, and agents. Whenever a position opened up in a retail goods company, he could quickly match it with a suitable candidate. He specialized in his field, and everyone in his industry knew that if you wanted to hire someone in the retail goods sector, Robert was the go-to person. Having a strong specialty can earn you a reputation and save you costs. If someone asked Robert to find a sales manager in the real estate industry, could he do it? Of course, but it might take him 100 hours. In contrast, he could do it in just 10 hours within his area of expertise. Time is costly, and that 100 hours could be spent on more profitable ventures. So, Robert generally declines requests outside his area of specialization. When conducting business, people prefer dealing with professionals, and when making purchases, they seek reputable sellers. In e-commerce, a seller's reputation significantly influences a buyer's perception of a product's quality and, consequently, their willingness to make a transaction. People often check a seller's reputation and may even read negative reviews while shopping online. A study conducted on eBay demonstrated the importance of reputation. The study involved high-reputation sellers and newcomers selling identical postcards. When making purchases, buyers favored sellers with higher reputations. In the same time frame, high-reputation sellers achieved 8% higher sales than newcomers. So, if you build a reputation, your performance naturally improves. However, maintaining this reputation is essential, and one should be careful not to recommend products or services they aren't familiar with. It's common to witness influencers having accidents when they promote products they don't truly understand, which can damage their reputations and make rebuilding it much harder. To become an excellent intermediary, the author offers a fourth piece of advice: actively safeguard the interests of both buyers and sellers. In many transaction scenarios, intermediaries may unintentionally favor the side that brings more stable profits. This bias is especially evident in the case of modeling agents, a typical example. The work of a modeling agent involves two main parties, models and actors on one side, and clients like photographers, film producers, and advertisers on the other. The fundamental responsibility of the agent to clients is to find them the models they need while staying within their budget. For models, the agent negotiates to secure incomes that correspond to the time and exposure they invest. In the current business environment, clients often have a stronger position, while models are relatively in a weaker position. Consequently, many modeling agencies lean towards protecting the interests of advertisers, tolerating some breaches of the contract. For example, some clients may request a photo shoot for print but then use a video camera on location or continue using a model's photos beyond the contract period. However, the head of a top modeling agency, Adams, has a different perspective. He believes that a good modeling agency should safeguard the interests of both parties, as this is the only way for the business to thrive. Adams acts as a representative for both parties. He ensures that models meet clients' appearance requirements and arrive promptly at the event. However, if a client's behavior is detrimental to a model's interests, he is willing to negotiate with the client. Adams believes that by protecting the model's interests, a modeling agency can attract the best models, and the best models, in turn, can attract high-quality clients. This virtuous cycle benefits both the agency and the models. In summary, the author offers 4 pieces of advice on how to become an outstanding intermediary. Firstly, learn to give and actively help others, accumulating the scale of both buyers and sellers through cross-subsidization. Secondly, accurately understand the needs of clients. Thirdly, let professionalism and reputation be your credentials. Fourthly, strive to safeguard the interests of both buyers and sellers to ensure the long-term development of your business. Whether you are a buyer or a seller, the hope is that this book's insights will help you navigate transactions more effectively. If you are an intermediary and wish to excel in your work, these recommendations should prove valuable. This is the essence of the Middleman Economy. Congratulations on completing another book. Thank you for your support and attention. Please subscribe to Listen to Riches, like this video, and share this valuable knowledge with your friends. Let's combine wisdom with practice to achieve our financial goals and create a better future. Thank you, everyone. See you next time.